Today on the Locked On Hornets podcast, we'll talk about who's going to stay on the Hornets roster next year, who's going to leave. We'll take a look at the ultimate mock draft history. I don't even want to address that last category. You know that's all Doug Branson. I'll let him explain it to you at the end of the show today on Locked On Hornets. It's Locked On Hornets. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Appreciate you hopping on once again. A fun Friday, another live edition, which I don't know if there's anything special about Friday being live now. Every day is live. You can also go to the stream on YouTube. You can catch us wherever you get your podcasts. We are trying our best to infiltrate your lives as much as humanly possible, and Doug has allowed us to do so. Follow us on Twitter, at WalkerMail, at Doug Branson LOH. It's a special Friday, of course, because David is joining us. You can follow him on Twitter, at David B. Walker. David, are you fresh? You got a week off? We don't have a whole lot to talk about because the Hornets aren't doing anything. We're all poking the logo with a stick, saying do something, and they are just refusing to do so. Do you have some fiery takes for us? Because we need something.
No, guys, everyone's shutting it down for the summer. I don't know if you heard about this. We're just going to postpone. We're going to kick the can down the road. We'll think about a coach and other stuff. I don't know. After the summer, guys, just take it easy.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm ready for some news.
Right
I know,
now.
I know everyone's ready for some news, but we don't have any. So we're going to talk about the ultimate mock draft that we're in right now with the Locked On Podcast Network. That's coming up later in the show. And then, Walker didn't really do a good service for the audio listener, but there was an interesting question that an interesting question out of a quote from Kim Kardashian, where she said she would eat poop every day if she thought it would make her younger, which got me to thinking, like, what would it take in the Hornets universe for me to eat poop every day? And I want to pose that question not to just to you two gentlemen, but to the entire Hornets commentary. What would you do? It's like, what would you do for a Klondike bar, except that Klondike bar is not ice cream, it's poop.
It's poop, yeah. That changes it, I think, a little bit for me at least. I don't know. We'll see.
No, huge difference. I would do a lot for a Klondike bar. Wouldn't do a ton. And I don't want to give you a tease. I don't want to spoil any take at the end here, but not going to do a whole lot for eating poop every single day to make something happen in Hornets history. But again, I guess we'll get to that in the last segment. Let's talk about who stays on this roster, Doug. Did you kind of want to go like with a name game here? Did you just want to give somebody like Miles Bridges, and then me and David both will talk about it? How did you envision this segment going?
I just really thought, because Rod Boone on the Charlotte Observer released his list of who stays and who goes. And I think it's a really interesting question, right? Because the Hornets, they have a lot of decisions to make. They have a lot of smaller players going into free agency, but also large players like, large contributors like Miles Bridges, who's due for a lot of money. So I just thought it was an interesting question to say who stays, who goes. I think we can start with who stays. I mean, who do you think is going to be in a Hornets roster, just down the roster, from the large contributors, from the starters to the rotation players? Who do you think stays?
Well, starting from the macro and kind of working ourselves down here, I think LaMelo is the 100% absolute only lock for this roster. Wow. And then I do think Miles is going to be on this roster, and I feel very comfortable saying that. You can't be 100% saying he's a lock if he's a restricted free agent, and let's just say another team values him to the moon, and we only go so far, where, all right, 30 million, 32 million a year, another team's willing to go like 37, maybe that franchise exists. I can see a universe where that happens, but ultimately, I think Miles Bridges is going to stay with the Hornets, so I think it's LaMelo for sure, and then I think it's Miles probably. I feel very good about it. And then I think there are a lot of possibilities for every other person on this roster. So what do you think about Miles, David? Let's go with you because there is at least some kind of conversation to be had there.
Yeah, I think you're right. I agree with you. I think they realize what they have in Miles, and that the fact that he hasn't hit his ceiling, I think that everyone would agree with that, and he's still improving. At least that possibility is there. And the way he meshes with LaMelo so well on and off the court, I think there's just too many things in that column that are going to make them do whatever they have to hang on to him. Anything could happen, of course. But there's so many like sign and trade scenarios floating around. Some of those are kind of interesting. I wouldn't mind tossing a few of those at you guys, see what you think. But I just think they're really trying to build around the core and get people that fit with LaMelo. And my goodness, is there
Yeah.
anyone that fits better right now around LaMelo than does Miles Bridges? So yeah, I think he's pretty much a lock for me.
You feel the same we do, Doug, about Miles and LaMelo? Specifically
well,
Miles.
LaMelo 100%. Miles, I would put somewhere in the like 80%. I mean, is there a chance that we could get all shocked right, around the draft where they do some kind of sign and trade that brings some big names? I mean, it's a possibility. We just don't have any evidence of this front office being able to pull off a move like that. I think it gets more interesting when you start to talk about some of the other players that are on big contracts for this team, like Terry Rozier, who's entering the first year of his big $97 million extension. Is he a possibility in the trade market? Gordon Hayward still has a few years left on his monster deal. Are they going to be able? It seems like the mood in the room is that Gordon and the Hornets want to move off this deal, but will they be able to? That's the question.
Yeah, so if we click and drag LaMelo and Miles into the box that says they're staying, I would also do that with Terry Rozier, despite there also being a worthwhile conversation, because you do need to try to create some cap space. They don't have any right now. They're going to try to throw the bag at Miles Bridges, and then after that, we still need to get the center. We still need to do the whole veteran free agent center thing, and we don't have enough money to pay anybody like that. So I think in that scenario, you're going to be talking about trading a Gordon Hayward and possibly Terry. Gordon is still number one on that list of who I think is going to go. And Terry is a possibility, but ultimately I think Terry stays. I don't think that they are going to trade Terry Rozier when it's all said and done, and he'll be on this roster next year.
Yeah, I mean, of course, the only thing is Terry is probably more attractive, right? Well, definitely more attractive, I think, to anyone than is Gordon Hayward. And it's just the injury situation and the huge contract that make that so tough. I mean, you guys talked about the juicy no-brainer Kevin Love for Gordon Hayward trade this week,
No-brainer.
So, I mean, that one's definitely out there. But it's just getting harder and harder with every season, right? With every game that he keeps stacking up that he's just not able to get on the court. And the extra precautions he's taking to get back, it makes it tough to move that big contract. I mean, nothing is impossible as we've seen, guys, but the Gordon Hayward seems like it's very difficult. I will agree with you on this, Walker. I think they would have to be really, really tempted and really there would have to be a super sweet deal for them to move off of Terry. It just feels like they kind of value what he brings to the locker room. He plays well with LaMelo too. I think there's a pattern there. I think a lot of people will play well with LaMelo though. So, but it feels like you got to have somebody that alongside him in the backcourt, and unless they can bring in a superstar, all-star type guy, I think Terry is probably here as well.
So far, you both have been in line with what Rod Boone was thinking in the Charlotte Observer. LaMelo Ball staying, Terry Rozier staying, Gordon Hayward staying. It gets interesting with Kelly Oubre, who is in the last year of his contract, but it's partially guaranteed. What do you think, Kelly Oubre staying, going?
I think Kelly's gone, and to go back,
I would be disagreeing with Rod Boone, who thinks he's staying.
Yeah,
I key piece.
A key, yeah, I disagree.
Walker
I think
does not.
Yeah, I think they're going to move off of Kelly Oubre. Now, maybe if they move off of Gordon, that would entice them to keep Kelly Oubre more so, just to fill that role. But I don't think that Gordon's going to be on this roster. Like I think that they're going to trade him. And I just think that there's been so much discussion. Now is the pressure point. There's been, so many talks about how you can get off of that contract. This is the time now where you fire the coach in James Borrego because you want to take that next step. I don't know if it's some drastic move. Firing a coach is, in the world of changing things, the easiest thing to do. But if you fire your coach after having improved 10 wins after the last couple of seasons, you still have the disappointing play-in loss, you are willing to do some, not drastic things, but some pretty important changes there. And I think Gordon Hayward is going to be a guy that eventually gets traded. So
going to the YouTube chat, Slat says JT Thor has more potential than PJ Washington. Slat, I agree with you. In fact, in this stay go conversation, I'm going to say it right now, is a hot take.
Okay.
I would rather see JT Thor stay on this roster than James Bouknight, than Kai Jones.
Okay.
I would rather
That's
see
not that
JT
That's not
Thor.
hot. I thought you were going to say
That's-
PJ. That's what I thought you were
not
going to
that-
say.
I thought you were going to say PJ too.
Yeah, that's what
You
I
set up a
thought.
hot take there.
Okay.
That
Well,
was-
okay. All right. I'll say that then. I'll say I would rather see JT Thor
Doug
than
wants the
PJ
hot
Washington.
take.
A hot take.
Yes, he wants the hot take. He did not
See, I
get
don't
the
even know if
reaction.
yeah, I do. Hold on. Here we go. Oh, maybe I do. No, I don't have them loaded in. The
Okay.
hot take machine's broken.
Well, that's because the
gotta give
computer
me
is
some more
taking
fuel.
your sole energy source there, running 24/7 stream. on YouTube.
Because there's serious value that you can obtain by trading PJ Washington. I think you can get serious value back. JT Thor hasn't seen enough minutes on the floor to get. I don't think he has that kind of value that you could bring back. And because James Bouknight and Kai Jones still carry that first round scent. It's a cent. When you get drafted in the first round, you have a cent. And I think you could even get some value for Bouknight or Kai Jones versus Thor. I think Thor's value is in developing him and what he can do on both ends of the floor and how he can help you defensively, even as soon as this next season.
Well, that's the thing. You mentioned defense, and a lot depends on how the dominoes fall. But I mean, if they were to move off of PJ, who's left to defend anyone right down the stretch? I mean, I think they impressed him a lot, or he impressed them a lot in the way he hung with some of the tougher guys that defend in the league. His toughness was huge. There's gaps in PJ's game, but I think what he brings to this team, they really like. Now, the flip side to that was Mitch Kupchak just talking that up to make him more attractive on the trade market. I don't know, but I think they would like to hang on to PJ. He's probably the most interesting guy to me as we
he's tough
down this list.
You guys are crazy. Here, I see the problem now. I see the problem because the people in the chat are saying it was a lukewarm take. You guys are saying this is my fault. This is my fault because I started the more Thor movement. I got everyone excited. I gave you some stats. I showed you some highlights. I really showed you the light that is JT Thor, and now you're already on my side. But I'm telling you, if you go out to the larger Hornet, especially Bouknight fans, I mean, Bouknight fans are serious. That would be a hot take to say JT Thor, keep him over Bouknight or Kyle Jones.
No, I think it's probably lukewarm too. I think that's probably what it is because JT was, did he have more minutes? I don't even know the minutes breakdown. I guess it has to be close. I don't want to, if I pull up the stats here,
your computer will
mess up my bandwidth. But at the same time, it's going to be somewhere close. And JT was impactful. How can you not like what you saw from the second youngest player in the NBA draft in immediate minutes? The length. He was enticing moving up, and the fact that he was there at 37 was a little surprising. And so, I love JT Thor. We'll see exactly what's in store for him. In store for Thor, we want more. All right, let's talk about who's going to stay, and we'll talk about who's leaving. Before that, though, I do want to go to the comments. Doug, do you have any info on us for us about the JT Thor, James Bouknight minutes?
No, I don't have that yet. I was working on pulling that up. I thought you were going to tease the coming up, so I was getting ready for that. It's a lot going on. I'm juggling a lot here, folks. I got a lot of tech, a lot of stats. Walker's depending on me for a lot here, and I'm doing the best I can. So what do you want to do? I've got some questions. I think we can get to the questions on the other side. I've got some questions that people tweeted at us, #HiveLive, and if we don't answer the questions, they'll get upset. So we should do that.
All right. So now you're ready for the graphic?
I am.
All right, cool. Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast, we'll talk about who is going to possibly leave the Charlotte Hornets roster, and we'll answer some of those questions. Hive Live question, you guys have been tagging us, doing that hashtag, also putting in the YouTube comments as well, so we're going to answer some of those questions that you have for us here. All right, we've been asking for it for a while now. Built delivered. You have Built granola bars. They are here. Built granola bars come in 3 unbelievable flavors: chocolate peanut butter, chocolate coconut, and white chocolate berry. If you want to try all 3 flavors, you can get a mixed box at Built.com right now. And the Built granola bars, very much so in the same category of the Built bars as far as the calories go, right? The caloric intake, really about 150. You talk about 15 grams of protein, only 4 grams of sugar. It's healthy for you. Go to Built.com. Use promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. Let's answer some of those questions coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
You are listening to the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Kemba is out. LeBron got kicked out. Wade is old. Pop is a genius.
Don't give up on social media, Doug. You just got to be social.
Oh, that's real nice.
Get more Hornets analysis on LockedOnHornets.com.
For those that don't see the YouTube video right now, as the music starts to come in and play, David is smiling ear to ear, living in nostalgia on the Locked On Hornets podcast. You like that bump, David?
Oh, I loved it. I mean, we had the future governor of Texas in there at the end, Doug. I mean,
he's running, no doubt about it. Oh, man.
Yeah, we can talk about that later on in a different episode if you want to. That's David enjoying
we got
that.
all summer.
And,
we can do it.
We've been doing that, though. Doug has been going back into the archives, bringing out some of those OG episodes. The interview with Del Curry was running the other day on the live stream, and so Doug continues to kind of look back and put that on the 24/7 live stream. All right, Doug, you said you had some questions and comments you wanted to get to.
Yeah, people hitting us up on Twitter with the hashtag Hive Live. Let's get to them here. Tim asking us, what do y'all think it would take to move up to, say, 7 and get Duren? Well, we sort of know this intimately, I think, with our ultimate mock draft, Walker, where we tried to get to 7, which is owned currently by the Portland Trail Blazers, who are kind of in a similar situation to the Hornets, where I think they're looking to win, not develop young talent. And we tried to make a deal, but they wanted PJ Washington.
And
I didn't know what it's going to take.
Right. Well, and at least it was going to take that for Locked On Blazers. I don't know if it's going to happen for the Portland Trail Blazers, but Locked On Blazers for sure did want PJ Washington and 13 to move up to 7, and I didn't want to get rid of PJ. I was willing to go 13 and 15 to move up for 7, and then ultimately select Jalen Duren, but I didn't want to get rid of PJ. David, what would you say for that? If it took 13 and PJ to move up to 7, would you be willing to do that, or would you say no
Break the
deal?
tie.
No, not for me. I don't think any of these big. I don't think any of these big guys you want to give up a known quantity just yet. And I think it's going to take. I don't think 13 and 15 is going to be able to move you up in this draft. I mean, to me, I don't know what you guys have seen in the various mocks, but I mean, if I'm sitting in the upper lottery, I'm not taking 13 and 15, to move down. So you're going to have to give up a player. I would probably vote no on that one.
Well, and that's why I think if Duren lasts to 10, if you just talk about moving up 3 spots and you want to give up that 13 and 15 and then try to go get him, I think that's probably where you have realistic plans. That's where something can really happen. I think 7's probably a little too far, and you're going to have to give up some real significant value. But if he lasts to 10, then maybe that's when you start to look to move up.
I've got an answer for you on the rookie minutes per game.
Okay.
James Bouknight led the team with 9.8 minutes per game. JT Thor behind him at 7.9, followed by Scotty Lewis at 3.3 with far less games, 2 games played.
I was about to say, yeah.
Kai Jones, 21 games, 3 minutes per game.
9
There you go.
minutes. Capped out at 9 minutes for that rookie class, huh?
Yeah, but I also wonder about do you have the totals up there? Just because JT probably appeared in more. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's what I was looking for. I said total.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't get you what you were looking for. Total minutes, James Bouknight, 304, followed by JT Thor at 262, Kai Jones at 63, Scotty Lewis at 7. There. Totals.
How about per 48? What do you got on that, Doug?
I was gonna ask. Let's continue to
go to
dive
hell.
deep
That's
into
what
the
I've got.
numbers. All right.
Let's go back to the tag board here. Next question from Scout says, "I love what Mark Williams can bring to Charlotte, and Jalen Duren would be nice too. So what are you doing with Kai Jones?" This is a good segue into what we just talked about. Kai Jones played in 21 games, but didn't get a ton of minutes. So what are we doing with Kai Jones? Is he just like on the back burner or something? What would y'all do? Love the show. Thank you, Scout.
Yep, appreciate it, Scout. It's a good question because Kai Jones was always considered this project, this extremely raw project, and he just as a different player. The appeal about Kai Jones is the fact that he can handle the basketball. You kind of envision him as playing out there on the perimeter, playing that power forward spot, and defensively hoping that he can figure out enough stuff to play that 5 position. But he's the guy that has the Kevin Durant-like body, right? The Giannis, the tall ball skills type of dude, and you're not necessarily putting him at that center spot where Jalen is straight up center. Mark Williams, Mark Williams won't play a lick of anything else but 5 in his entire career. And so, it's just different makeups. But no, I don't think Kai Jones is on the back burner. And I think that's why you drafted him, right? Because of that versatility that he provides, because the skill set, the clay is there to be molded into something great, and you don't have to pigeonhole him to one position.
Yeah, that's what they're trying to stack up with guys like Kai Jones and Thor, McDaniels. They're still trying to add these long, lengthy guys that can give you some length. But look, Kai, I think at the earliest was going to be expected to give you minutes next year. Like last year,
at the very early, you're right.
They weren't counting on anything.
No, but we know that the general manager, Mitch Kupchak, wanted to see more of these rookies play more like serious NBA minutes to get a good look at them. Because honestly, like when you bring in a new coach, whether it's D'Antoni or Atkinson or Frank Vogel, I think we forgot about Frank Vogel again. But whoever,
I think about Vogel. We do. No, it's so right. We completely forget about him.
But whoever they bring in, I'm sure they'll have some evidence. They've been watching basketball, but they're not like paying close attention to the G League. They haven't been in the system, so they're not going to have a real great idea. They're probably going to want more veterans than to give those guys a chance. So it's going to be difficult for them. But yeah,
and I want to talking about James Bouknight more so. Doug, you brought up the comment from Mitch Kupchak that he would have liked to have seen more from the rookies, but you can pretty much, go down to James Bouknight with that comment, because all of us projected Kai Jones getting no minutes. Nobody expected JT Thor to even have the impact he did. I don't think anybody was expecting him to, it not be considered a hot take to want JT over James, right? Like, I don't think anybody expected that. So Mitch Kupchak can't really go into this season wanting a lot of JT Thor minutes. That has to be attributed to James Bouknight, right? Like, that's the guy. And so now I'm really interested if whatever this next head coach, whoever it's going to be, if that's a conversation that's had between, Mitch and the head coach saying, hey, we drafted James. I feel like he can really help us. He didn't get as many minutes as I wanted him to get last year. Now's the time for him to come off of the bench. And what else makes this a little tricky? What if you draft a guard type player at 13 or 15, especially if they have a couple of years experience under their belt in the college game, to where maybe the idea is for them to contribute right away? That's where you start to think about, goodness gracious, we have too many players. We got to trade one of them.
We just we have too many darn players.
We've gone from no talent to just too much dang talent, guys.
It's a good problem.
What? Right.
That's such a great soundbite. I forgot all about that one.
He can't say that anymore. That's not true. He can't say that.
Yeah, I was going to say it's weird.
Factually, well, he said that before LaMelo's. To be clear, that was a few years ago.
That was probably like 2019. Not anymore, Mitch. Stop it. You're done.
Go get some. That's what. Hey, Mitch. Okay, go get some. That's your job. You can get. You can't. You have the power to get some all-stars.
All right. Do you have any more comments, Doug?
Yeah, we got one more. Let's go to one more because I want to make sure we get this. If David has to bounce, let's go to Danny on the chat, who has this picture of the newest LaMelo Ball colorway. David Walker, if you don't know, if you're watching maybe for the first time, David Walker is our shoe expert, our feet candy aficionado. David, what do you think about these new colorways?
Oh no! This is the first LaMelo, right? This is the first one, but it's the first low version we've seen of this. And shout out to Mixtape Monster, I believe, who sent it to me about a week ago. That's the first look I've seen of it. I mean, this is a summer banger.
Describe it. Describe it for the listener. What are we looking at here?
It's just like the normal LaMelo shoe that he wore all year, but it's like a gray upper, and then it's got the teal kind of actually a little mint.
Mint. You're right.
Mint City hits on the outsole and the collar, and I think it's just perfect, man. I mean, that's a great one right there. That's what you want.
These are my favorite Melo shoes that I've seen, and I've liked some of the other ones, but this one
I missed out on the purple, the QC ones, and I feel really bad about that. But these, I think I'm going to jump on these.
Are you? Yeah. I mean, because
this might be a buy.
You have a pair of Melos, though, Doug, don't you?
Yeah, I have the black ones. Yeah.
These are great. I almost want to get those. That actually might be something I do. All right. We'll get to some more comments maybe on the other side.
Yeah, we got a lot more. I'll just before we go to break, I can just give us something a little tasty here on the that someone tweeted at us. It's not really a question, but it's just something tasty to look at. Even tastier than those shoes, I think.
Or the poop that you're going to propose we eat every single day for something to change in Hornets history.
No, I just hope that is it not going to play the video? Oh my gosh! All right, we'll have to this tag board. We're experimenting with this tag board. This is Miles Bridges.
Okay,
he's practicing his threes. It was a great video. Unfortunately, this tag board does not play out video.
Guys, he's wearing the Air Jordan 11 Concord in this video. I can tell you that much.
Thank you.
I wonder if he's going to move. If he's going to be moving over to Jordan Brand for next season. Something to watch out for.
Great.
If he wants
contract negotiations. I don't know.
Yeah, if he'll give us. Will you give us a discount if we? See, I think that's against the rules. I think there's some rules violation.
Come on, man.
Yeah. Just imagine the speculation soundbite kind of serenading us right now as we speculate maybe going over to that Jordan Brand. All right, coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Oh yeah, here we go. You know what's coming up next.
Now, why are you so excited about it? You're so excited. It's the second day in a row you've brought up poop in two different ways. You keep bringing it up. We're going to ask the question.
It's a big part of my life right now.
Kim Kardashian had an interesting quote, and we're going to incorporate it into the show coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
This is Locked On Hornets.
And would I have liked to see a few more sharts? No, I would not have.
I saw some sharts.
Only on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
We have an important favor to ask you here, a part of Locked On Podcast Network. We put together a survey so we can learn more about listeners like you and make your favorite Locked On podcast even better. This is your opportunity to go tell us what you like and what you don't like about Locked On Podcast. You can go there, lockedonpodcast.com/survey right now to get started. It won't take very long, and everyone that completes a survey can qualify for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Ticketmaster gift cards. To take our audience survey, go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey. We always appreciate the help. Doug, I'm just going to let you set up this segment, man. You take us wherever you want to go, and I'm just going to try to follow as much as I can.
Well, listen, I got my eyeballs on all kinds of things online. I'm not just a sports. I'm not just a Hornets person. I have multitudes that I pay attention to, including pop culture. So I saw this tweet, this message from Kim Kardashian here, a quote from a New York Times article on her. It says, "I'll try anything. If you told me that I literally had to eat poop every single day and I would look younger, I might. I just might." End quote.
She's thinking about it. She just might do it.
Well, and she's just touching on something here, which is like, if you told me I had to eat poop to get something that I really, really want, that's almost impossible to get. Like, you can't get younger. All of us are slowly aging, and there's nothing you can do to reverse that. But it got me to thinking, like, I really want a lot of things to change, both in the history of the Charlotte Hornets, and I want some things for their future. I want an Eastern Conference Finals. I want the Hornets led by LaMelo Ball. I want to experience. You know what I want? I want that moment that I saw when the Bucks won their championship and Giannis embracing Mike Budenholzer. I want LaMelo to be embracing Mike D'Antoni as they celebrate a championship brought to Charlotte. I want to see they're talking about building all this stuff around Spectrum Center. I want them to build a fan area where fans actually gather, like the Deer District, like the one that the Raptors had. Like, you only get those when you have enough fans that you can't even fit them all in the building. That's what I want. And the question is, would you eat poop to get something like that? And I think the answer for me is, in like a tiny portion, yes. Like, I wouldn't eat like a whole. The question is a volume. Like, I wouldn't eat like a whole plate of poop, but for like a year, if you're talking about like a nugget, I might.
A nugget a year for every day.
If
you guaranteed me a Hornets championship, I would consider it.
Okay, so Walker, maybe we do this. What would we have Doug eat poop for? So neither you nor I are eating poop.
Because
but if Doug would be our poop
Because
proxy.
you guys don't want it enough. You're the James Harden of this discussion.
You're correct.
You don't want it.
Correct.
No, you're totally right. I think if we learned anything today, we got a definitive answer on who is a bigger Hornets fan, because you'd be willing to do that, and I would not. I've just got to say, I apologize if other people are that passionate. I'm just not. That's not anything that I can be, but we got that definitive answer from Doug Branson today. I don't.
Oh yes. Someone in the every time we do anything where if we stop and mention anything that's not Hornets related, which we really only do on Fridays because it's HIVE Live and we get a little nutty. There's one person in the comments that always says, "Is this the Locked On blank channel?" Like when we talked about Warriors last week for 2 seconds, because we were talking about the hats because they were so ugly, and I just had to mention it. And I like hats. You always have one person that says, "Is this Locked On Warriors? Is Locked On Hornets?" So today's winner is Paper Price. Congratulations, Paper Price says, "Is this the Locked On Pop Culture channel?"
Yeah, that's fantastic.
I thought I was gonna be Locked On Poop.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be, which might not have been the first time we've been called that before.
It's the Locked On Browns podcast.
So what are you eating poop for,
Locked
Doug?
On Browns.
What are you eating poop for? Don't leave us hanging. You would do it, but what's changing in Hornets history if you ate that poop?
Well, so yeah, the question was sort of a two-parter. You know, what would you change in Hornets history? And I think the answer is pretty clear. Like drafting Kobe Bryant. Like I think drafting Kobe Bryant, I would eat poop for a year if I could go back in time and convince the Hornets.
Or more correctly, not trading him, I think would be right.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, drafting and keeping him. Yes.
You know what's going to be really unfortunate though is that all of that work that you put in for a year, and then ultimately Kobe Bryant demands his way out of Charlotte just to go to LA anyway, because that's what he always wanted.
He wouldn't have done it. That's what we revealed. He was bluffing. These star players.
Yeah, he would have played here. He would have thrived here. It would have been amazing.
He would have embraced the teal and purple.
I'll piggyback on that for you, Doug, and I'll give you mine. I would have you eat poop.
No. That's not
if the original sale, if the original sale of the Hornets to Michael Jordan had been approved when he was looking to get in, he was shunned away. He had to buy into the Wizards, which he eventually did, and then eventually suited up for said Wizards. So I think if your wish and my wish came true, Kobe and MJ on the same floor in a Hornets uniform.
That's a
How
great
about the
one.
original? How about the original move of the team? If you could go back and just wave a magic wand and say, "All right,"
that never would have happened if he would have, been approved.
There you go. You would eat poop. You would do it, right?
I would have you do it for sure. Yes, that's what I said.
Yeah, Doug, I think I would. I would at least think about having you eat poop for the Anthony Davis draft pick. Maybe that's one that you always got to go back to. Huge.
Zion.
I would do it.
Maybe?
I would do it for. I would do
that
it for
wasn't
you.
really in play.
Thank you, Doug. I appreciate it. Do you want to get to some of the comments? I mean, are we doing the mock draft history too? I totally forgot about that.
I don't think we're gonna have to. I'd rather get to these questions. People, it is interesting. Maybe we can do it because we need to talk about. We've done something in this latest Ultimate mock draft. We've made a trade. We've selected at 13.
Wait, so that trade went through, is what you're saying? I didn't know this.
It did. Yeah.
Okay.
It went through.
I like this trade.
Sounds like it went great.
Yeah, no. We're not.
I'm always like, because of our history in the mock draft, which let's tease to Monday. Monday we'll talk about our history in the Ultimate mock draft, Locked On's big event, Ultimate mock draft, and then we can talk about what we did. Okay, so let's scrolling. Back to the questions. Tyler asks, again, tweeting us at Locked On Hornets, #HIVE Live. More important free agency re-sign this offseason, Montrezl Harrell or Cody Martin?
Man, that's a good question.
It is a good question. I still think probably Cody Martin. I think Montrez is going to cost more money. I think Cody is somebody that really developed a lot this past season. Now, if you do the splits, the second half of the year, his three-point percentage was not good. At the same time, I do think Cody Martin improved quite a bit. And if you're asking who's reached their ceiling and who might be getting worse every single day, right, in some minuscule amount, I love Montrez. I just spent the player capsule praising him. I still think probably Cody Martin, encompassing price, position, I'd still go with Cody.
David?
Montrez is good, though.
Man, this is a tough one for me. I was a big fan of the Montrez addition. It really didn't do much for them, really, when you look at it. And Cody Martin is about the only person on the wing out there right now that plays defense. So right now, as the roster is constructed, that's most important. Have someone out there that can actually stay in front of someone. So as currently stated, yeah, it's got to be Cody Martin, and you hope you can find someone to fill the middle with a little more with some energy, as did Montrezl.
Yeah, this is an easy one for me because Cody Martin is fine playing off the bench. And then when he is asked to start, as we went over during his player profile, looking back at last season, when he was asked to start, he was amazing. He's just a great plug and play kind of player, and he's fine playing off the bench. Montrez wants to start. That's why he's not coming back to Charlotte, because he's not going to get an opportunity to start here.
Plus, if Cody leaves, he's just going to Miami to reunite with his brother, and then
you have to keep You have to keep Cody away from Miami. That's really the play. It's not even about keeping Cody; it's about keeping him away from Miami.
It's a good point.
Let's go to the next one. Yep. All right, R. Scott Wells says, "Forget Westbrook. What would it take to pry AD from the Lakers? Who knows what their roster plans are? Rozier or PJ, plus Hayward, plus a young guy, plus a couple of picks.
Yes.
We're trying to go back and relitigate that draft."
Yeah, except for the old broken down injured one, which, yeah, I mean, at some point you wonder, yeah, I mean, yes, that's probably where you start, right? Like, yeah, it would take the salary.
It would probably take a Miles too, honestly. I don't know. That's insane.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're talking a couple of picks. You are talking about Miles or PJ. Ultimately the Lakers have to think they're better with LeBron James and think, okay, we can win a championship with whatever we're getting in return, and we move off of that AD money. Ultimately it doesn't happen, right?
It wouldn't be.
But that package is probably, if you were forced to try to do something, that's the starting point.
Next one, Jonathan says, "Who's your favorite obscure Bobcats legend?"
Wow. Man, I have a go-to answer for the Hornets, not the Bobcats, though. I know that's not the question.
Jeez. Yeah.
Obscure
yeah,
legend.
I mean, mine's on the screen right now. Byron Mullins. Easy.
I think that's everybody's, though. Everybody loves Byron Mullins. How obscure is he in Bobcats lore?
He's fairly, he's pretty obscure.
Jason Capono.
He had the one dunk.
Capono's a good one.
Corey Maggette.
Oh my God!
People forget about Corey Maggette.
I definitely forgot he was here.
Yeah, Jason Richardson had the one excellent year. I mean, for us, I mean,
Stack Jack was maybe my favorite, but he's not really obscure.
Yeah. The problem is our non-obscure heroes in Bobcats world are obscure everywhere else.
I'll tell you mine, rookie Allen Anderson.
Okay. Are you just is there a reason you just liked Allen Anderson?
I just came in, gave you 6 points, gave you 2 rebounds, called it a day.
I'll tell you what, Josh McBob, I think
that's a really good one.
Pretty valuable here, and
he's
much. I mean, look, if Josh McRoberts is not obscure, then
right.
I don't know what we're doing.
No, that's a really good one. I'll give you my favorite obscure Hornets legend of all time, Lefty Lee Nailon. That's my favorite. Loved me some Lee Nailon, efficient from the field. And I thought had the one season where he actually scored double digits and then bounced around from team to team after that, but was really good for a very short amount of time. Had the little stretch that we've coined here on the Lockdown Hornets podcast. That's my favorite.
Hakeem Warwick. How about that?
That's a good one.
What was the trade he was involved in?
It was for Matt Carroll. Well, let me tell you, here's a piece of obscure podcast trivia, is that this podcast started as a Bobcats podcast called Podcats.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't part of Locked On or anything. It was just something that I was doing, out of a spare bedroom. And the first topic we covered was the trade Hakeem Warwick from the Hornets for Matt Carroll.
For Matt Carroll. I think that might have been one of the first things. Yeah. I think I remember doing that for like Charlotte 49er radio and talking about that trade. I think that would have been around the same time. Good times, man.
There's
Charlotte Bobcats,
definitely somebody I'm forgetting from a obscure Bobcats legend standpoint. That's great. Now I've got all weekend to do some deep diving.
That's right.
There we go. What's the
absolutely.
possibility of Hornets going with Kai at the 5 and Thor at the 4? More Thor at the 4, trading away PJ and Gordon Hayward, letting them grow together.
I mean, you're punting on winning.
Yeah, I think there's a 0 per. Again,
as
if
long
they're
as
serious
LaMelo's
about,
here, that's probably not going to happen.
yeah, you're wasting LaMelo time, but also you have to think too. Like you're trading away PJ and Gordon Hayward, you're probably getting some good. I think you're getting probably good value with PJ and some veterans at least with Gordon Hayward. So like, how could you couldn't really do that. You can trade those two and get assets back that wouldn't probably play over Kai and Thor again unless you were just totally tanking.
Yeah. I mean, and look, to be serious, as much as we all really like JT Thor, if he's starting for you next year, then that's probably not going to help you win a ton of games. You want him to still be able to grow before maybe taking that leap the season after that. It just would be punting on winning. Hopefully those guys can be some serious contributors down the line, but just not next year.
And finally, from Eric, I love the draft trade talks, but I think we need to readdress the importance of adding Jello to the NBA roster as the 15th man to make Melo happy, the fans happy. He can hit some threes off the bench. At least try it out.
Hey, it's almost Jello season. Summer League's coming up, so we got to tune in for that.
Is that what you mean by having Jello on the bench? You just want to put some of that right there just for a healthy snack after the game for these guys?
People said there is a certain element of the fan base that loves them some Jello.
Well, tune in for Summer League, I would say. I don't think we haven't.
The roster's gonna. If I seriously address this question,
right?
They're going to have plenty of players to decide, who gets minutes. Where it's not going to be a situation, I think, like in previous seasons where they had an open roster spot. I think they're, but also you kind of want to maintain some roster flexibility somewhat, so that if you do make a midseason trade to acquire, a player or two, that you've got the availability. So that the 15th spot on a roster is actually more valuable than people think. It's not even about the person that occupies it. It's often about the opportunity to put a player in there in a trade scenario for a team that's winning. Now, if it's a completely different situation, if a team is tanking and or not really devoted to winning.
Well, and by the way,
I think it's going to be valuable to the Hornets.
Well, and it was last year. Mitch Kupchak values that. That's exact. He was running one of the few teams that did not have every single one of their roster spot filled, and so they had some ability to be flexible in any trade talks. The buyout market. We saw that kind of happen. Mitch Kupchak does value that. All right, are we good on the comments? Are we going to tease the ultimate mock draft history for Monday?
It's a lot of his. I started all the way back. I'll give you a little taste. Because David's here. I want to talk about the one that David and I began with in 2017, which is the Markelle Fultz, Lonzo Ball, Josh Jackson, Jonathan Isaac draft. Malik Monk was the pick for the Hornets in that draft. They passed up on Donovan Mitchell. That's the history. Okay, that's what actually happened. But Jason Tatum fell to 8 in this mock draft. Holy.
just not a good mark on the entire network in 2017.
It was young.
Oh yeah, that's tough. Went to the Knicks at 8. Oh, that'd have been different. All right, so let me tell you what the Hornets did. What David and I worked up. We traded out of the 11th slot to the Raptors. And we fell back to the 23rd spot. So here's what we did. We traded Jeremy Lamb and the 11th pick to the Raptors for Corey Joseph, Bebe Nogueira, and the 23rd pick. Now, if you remember, this was a time when the Hornets desperately needed a backup point guard. And we felt like Corey Joseph was the guy
difference maker
that could do it. They also needed an extra big. Bebe could have done that. And okay, go ahead, Walker. Go ahead, comment on it before I tell you who he drafted at 23. Go ahead and comment on it.
No. I was just saying you're trading 11 and Jeremy Lamb, and I would say at least Corey Joseph was a pretty good backup.
This is 2017 Lamb, not the Lamb that eventually developed.
I know. I'm just telling. Yeah, but that's part of assessing the calculus on all of this is how everything turned out, right? Like,
hindsight 2020.
Yeah, I would think Corey Joseph, a good enough player. Yeah. All right. Let's hear who you selected at 23.
Well, let me just tell you, at 11, the Raptors selected Frankie Smokes, Frank Ntilikina.
Okay.
So didn't miss out. Now we could have drafted Donovan. Donovan went next at 12 to the Dallas Mavericks. So we still missed out on Donovan. But at 23, the Charlotte Hornets selected John Collins out of Wake Forest.
Great salvaging pick there.
And we targeted him the entire way. I will say, before we got offered that trade, so we may have been, bamboozled just a bit there. But Donovan Mitchell was our guy, and we were talking. I think I had pitched that. I think we also had our eyes on John Collins. Thought he might fall, and he did.
Tyler Hero
let's Danny Ainge this a little bit, Doug. I mean, we were really close to a huge get, a franchise changing roster overhaul with a couple of our picks, and we just decided not to do it.
No, yeah. So Luke Kennard went 18 to the Pacers. Harry Giles went 20 to the Mavericks, who also traded back into the draft to get Harry Giles. Tyler Hero went 21 to the Thunder.
Okay. Yeah, good pick there.
Anyway, so there's a taste. We'll go through the rest of the mock draft history. I'll just say, it doesn't get better.
That's the high mark. Yeah. Unfortunate. All right, we will take a look at the bad mock draft history on Monday, but we do appreciate you joining us on this Hive Live, this fun Friday. Also having David join us as he does every single Friday. Again, you can follow him on Twitter at David B. Walker and fire those shoes at him. I saw you got a sneakers win today, David. We didn't even congratulate you. That's awesome.
Exclusive access, put in the work, guys. Those long hours scrolling and punching paid it off today. So yeah, thank you. Good start to the weekend.
Yeah, it's always nice to see the Gotham graphic, and that's what you posted today. I got really excited. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. All right, and thanks to everybody else for joining us here on the Locked On Hornets podcast, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Make sure you also make your second listen Locked On NBA, from the first jump ball of the play-in tournament to the last possession of the finals. Locked On experts take you deep inside the playoffs with insight and analysis affecting all 30 teams. Have a great weekend. We'll be back with you on Monday.